Yeah, so this one's interesting, but 95% of the world is outside the United States. So for our companies, our farmers, any product or coming out of the United States, their ability to be successful depends on as many people in the world being able to afford to buy their product. And we see it in every product you can think of, from Colgate toothpaste to giant 737 aircraft made off the factories here by Boeing. Good chunk of my relatives, I'm out in the Seattle area, good chunk of my relatives have worked for Boeing throughout the years, and big job creator out here. But their largest commercial contract they ever signed was with an airline that wasn't in the US. It wasn't in, the likely places, Europe. It was an airline out of Indonesia, Lion Airlines.
Whoa.
And historically, Indonesia is one of the poorest countries on earth. But as poverty rates have been dropping in that particular region, and it still has a ways to go, the airline out there, Lion Airlines, has been buying up 737s, and that particular contract was like 230 of them off the factories here in the United States. And when I've traveled to Africa, I'm usually traveling on like Ethiopia Airlines. It's all the airplanes from Boeing for the most part. So it's really interesting. You go to these places and you're flying on aircraft that was made here locally in the United States, and that's creating a ton of jobs. If anyone ever visits the Boeing plant out in, or some of their commercial aircraft plants, and look at where the airplanes after they're painted, where they're going. I mean, it's like all over the world, right? So it's big stuff like that. Another thing out here in my neck of the woods is apples, Washington apples, right? And 20
Mhm.
years ago, we had almost no, very few, if any, apples going to Mexico, and now that's our biggest export. And most of our apples now go to Mexico. But yeah, big picture on the economy is it's just the more people who can afford to buy your product, the better, right? So if
Right.
half the world's barely surviving, that's not good for U.S. businesses. It's not good for U.S. farmers. But as people in those regions, as we found, have the poverty rates have dropped in those places, lo and behold, they start purchasing stuff coming out of the United States, and it's pretty straightforward. But there's very few, and we do this a lot when we're lobbying. By the way, meet members of Congress. It's like we look at what are the top exports coming out of their district, what are the top companies in our district, and you kind of go in the meetings with these little factoids of like, by the way, this this chip maker in your district, most of their chips are going to such and such countries. And but big pictures, there's very few things, whether it's agriculture products or software, you name it, that's not being directly impacted by the fact that poverty rates have been dropping globally over the last 20 years. And a lot of these companies are able to tap into these new emerging markets, is the term you hear a lot, but it's just places where less people are barely surviving. So
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna put on my best angry Facebook user hat, angry Facebook
please bring it,
grandma hat,
bring it,
and I'm
angry
gonna say
Facebook grandma.
something I've definitely read on Facebook, which is like, well, aren't some people supposed to be poor so that some of us could be rich? That's just how it goes. That's just
Right,
it. We can't all make money and then we run out of money. And then what do we do? All the poor people will have food. I don't really
yeah,
know how to even jokingly say that,
yeah.
but basically people do make the argument that
There's
like,
a
well, just
sense
some
that,
people
yeah,
gonna be poor and that's how it is. And any I'm sure you please tell me you have thoughts on
I do
that.
have thoughts on that.
I don't know what to say to them.
I would use the island analogy, right? So if you're on an island with
Okay.
100 people and 10 of them
Right.
have small businesses, say selling coconuts or selling wheat, whatever it might be, um,
Bananas.
bananas, yes, that would be on our tropical island. Those 10 people, if the other 90 people on the island are barely surviving and can't afford to buy anything they're selling, those 10 people aren't doing good either, right? So for the 10 to be prosperous business owners, whatever their banana business or coconut business, if they can't sell to those 90 that live on the island, they're screwed too.
Mm.
They're going to be in the exact same shape as the other 90. So that would be my analogy. And the world, let's be honest, it's just an island out in space that's kind of floating around. There's
Yeah,
just
I
a
like that. I
larger
like, thank you,
scale.
Carl Sagan. Yeah. Yeah.